All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Babbles Nonsense podcast. This episode is live from New York.
Welcome.
With Mal. I'm forcing her to do an episode with me. I brought all my equipment to talk about New York. And I'm very sorry for the quality of the audio last week. I had no idea that it was shitty until someone told me. Anyways, we're about to get started. So
Full disclosure, we've had alcohol. Also, I don't know where to put this microphone so that I can open this.
just lay the microphone down. So we're drinking some champagne in our hotel room, and Mal's going to pop her bottle. I don't know if you can hear that or not. Could you hear it in your headphones?
It doesn't really sound like champagne because it's from the hotel. So it's not like a cork. It's like
it's
a
not
plastic.
a pop the bottle situation going on, but
Okay,
yeah.
set that right there. Taste it.
We're going to kind of tell you a little bit about our experience so far. This is my first time in New York. We are here for my birthday. So when y'all listen to this, it will be actually on my birthday. So shout outs to my old ass. But anyways, we decided to do like a girls trip because typically we go to wine and dine at Disney. Shout out to Megan if she listens to this. But we decided to go to New York this year. And we'll start out with a story about the travel up because we flew out of Nashville. We found some really cheap tickets. We flew about, I think it was $48 Delta there and $48 Southwest back. So it's pretty cheap. But when we get there, I'm like, Mal, where do we park?
No. I was not. I was not asked where
That
to
is
park.
not true.
I was told that, we parked in Lot A last time.
We
came
did.
because it's like quicker and they have this part open now because they're doing construction on Lot B, which is where we typically park and shuttle to the terminal.
That was
However,
true.
we parked in Lot A because it was like this upgrade for free.
Yeah, it was for free
No.
because we
No.
did that in February, March of 2020 when there was COVID happening.
But that's not actually where they parked because Lot A was a deserted area with no shuttle that you have to walk from. Hike, if you will. A trek. A pilgrimage
With
to the terminal.
2 suitcases of luggage that you had to go up this hill. I went down the ramp where cars were coming at me.
It was not. It was not good.
It was not a fun time. I thought it was hilarious. I was laughing the whole way. There was guys behind us
I was
laughing.
sweating. It was like 42 degrees, and I'm pretty sure I was sweating.
But anyways, nonetheless, we made it to New York. Mal has a flight anxiety, but she did well.
Oops.
I try not to say things. Well, that's a lie. I say things a lot to her when we're on flights that she doesn't like. Kind of like, we might die. How is this going to go? Because I think the worst and expect the best. Because if you already tell yourself the worst thing that could happen.
No, you don't expect the best. You're expecting the worst.
No, in my mind, if I say the worst out loud, then if it does go bad, I already thought it. So there's no surprise. No surprise here.
But it's very like doomsday-ish.
But I also work in an ER, so I'm thinking the worst all the time. So I tried not to do that this trip with Mal, and we were on our way onto the plane when I just started thinking about the weight of luggage and like, how do they know how much weight will not drag a plane down? And I wanted to ask you that. I wanted to say, hey, Mal, what if this weight was too
All
much?
of these questions, I feel certain that the Federal Aviation Association has already handled for us, considering that there's zillions of planes in the air every day.
But I literally was like, I'm not going to ask you that question right now.
No, because I was literally, I told John, I was like, look, I love you. So this is what happened. I paid to have my seat assigned, right? And Jonna didn't. She's like, I'm just going to have some random seat. We're not going to sit together. So I'm like, whew, I don't have to sit with Jonna, because on the way to Las Vegas, she was like, what if, I think we're going to crash. What if this plane crashes? I think it's going to crash. And I was like, oh my God.
I did do that.
So she texts me the day before the flight. She's like, oh, I got my seat assigned. I'm in 12B. I'm like, motherfuck. I'm
didn't
in
even tell me her
12A.
seat.
There's two seats to the row, and they put her next to me. I was like, okay. Well, I wanted to sit alone so that I could just not acknowledge this anxiety at all. But I think I'll be all right. So I was fine.
Yeah, but I also offered to move.
She did.
I said, do you want me to move my seat?
It's very nice to have a friendship where you can be completely honest and be like, look, I love you, but I want to sit alone.
So that was the flight in. And then we get here and we see Moulin Rouge, which is great, by the way.
It was fantastic. I was nervous because I had heard someone whose opinion I trust that it was terrible, but not terrible. They actually said like the set and the the layout of it was great, but they just didn't enjoy it as much as they thought because it had won so many Tony Awards. But we had a great time.
It was great. Our seats were great. It was very close to the stage. They do a lot of music that is, would you say modern day? Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, it's definitely well, it's like top 40, but it's so the original movie, for those of you that have not original, I guess, I don't know, whatever came out in the 90s, for those of you that were fans of that movie, it had like songs from
That era.
the past like 20 years.
Yeah.
So they in musical they have added songs even more recent than that, basically from then until now.
It was a great mix. Like it would go from like Whitney Houston to like modern day, but like all the songs matched up. So it was a great mashup. And the set was amazing. Like super good. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't the biggest fan of the lead actress. She was beautiful, but I didn't think that her voice compared to my boyfriend, who is the star of the show.
Her boyfriend, who then when we stalked on Instagram, she said, ew, he looks old.
Well, you know, he did.
He's 38, by the way.
But he's gorgeous. He
He's-
is, and he's got a great voice.
1 year older than me.
You don't have near as many wrinkles, but he's also very haggard looking from working
That's why it's bad to be skinny. You look haggard real quick.
and working Broadway until 2, 3 in the
8
morning.
shows a week is tough.
But that was our first night, so we were out pretty late, and then we slept in the next day. And then our second day was just nothing but shopping because Mal dragged me to every store to shop
If you're not going to shop when you come to Manhattan, like, don't even fucking bother. Like, just go to Atlanta or something.
Well, I'm not a shopper, but I enjoyed the stores because they're very different. We even went to like Target and Macy's, and I've never been to a Macy's in my entire life because I'm from the South. And I mean, maybe Macy's are in the South. I don't know.
There's one in, like, Nashville. Pretty sure.
Well,
Yeah, there is one in Nashville.
we drank in Macy's, so that was cool. I've drank every day since I've been
You
here.
drank in at the restaurant.
Yeah, we drank in Macy's.
I totally forgot.
We drank in
is
Macy's.
massive. We went to the giant one that, like,
Yeah.
I think is where the parade ends, like the Macy's Day Parade, like the famous one, and it's old and it's just massive.
Because it says it's like the biggest Macy's store.
It's exhausting.
It's 5 stories.
It's several. I don't know. 8.
8 stories.
Yeah, 8
Oh,
or
yeah.
9.
Because they have those
There's a restaurant
old
with them.
ass escalators that are made out of wood, which we're trying to make some reels. So y'all tune into the Instagram. We'll see how those come along. So that was our second day, was mostly just shopping. And then we actually got in early that day so we could go to sleep. And then I'm sure it wasn't. Mal was coughing.
I was burping.
Whatever,
Which is
from the
grosser.
champagne. How is that champagne, by the way? It's orange.
It's quite good. It's orange
Shandon.
flavored Chandon, and it's pretty swell actually.
I have pronounced every fucking thing wrong here since we've been here. And then I just
my
tried to.
favorite is calling Hamilton Hamlet. That's the best one.
Yeah, I do that a lot, but the podcast listeners know that I pronounce everything wrong. And
It's entertaining.
we just go with it. Everyone who knows me or is in my life, they just don't even correct me anymore because there's no point. Kind of like when I had David on, I still call him David. It's David.
Instead of David.
He was like, "What is this? A fucking?" What did he say? I can't remember, but he said something funny. Anyways, our third day was today, and so we went down to Little Italy and had the most amazing gluten-free pizza. They made gluten-free pizza that actually.
Our third day was yesterday,
Oh, wait,
right?
is it?
Today's Saturday.
Okay, so our
Wednesday,
third day?
Thursday, Friday.
Oh, my bad. I'm ahead
I
of
think
myself.
the shopping's blurring together.
So the second, the third day was just shopping, right?
yeah, I think so.
And then today was our fourth day.
Yes.
So today we went to Central Park to walk around. It was a beautiful day, and they're putting up the ice skating rink that Mal got some good pictures of that we'll post. And then we went down to Little Italy and had the most amazing gluten-free pizza. And I don't know if anyone is gluten-free that's listening to this, but most gluten-free pizzas are very like soft and I wouldn't say soggy, but they're just soft. This was crisp AF, like a real pizza. So very appreciative of that, and we got to walk around there. And then we were trying to go to jazz bars all night long, and like being Saturday, you either have to have reservations or it's like super expensive to go somewhere. So that kind of sucked. So we ended up stumbling upon Bryant Park. Amazon, I guess, sponsored a bar there, but the bartender was terrible. So we go to this outdoor bar because the indoor bar, it's all outdoors, by the way, but it's just like, it's considered like the lodge, quote unquote, and it's supposed to look like an indoors area, but it was busy. So we went to the outdoor lodge, and so he asked us what we wanted to drink, and Mal gave him what was your first option? Like,
I asked for the, I don't know, winter time Negroni or
something, and he was like, we don't have that, we're out of that, so
it's
pick something
like
else.
Negroni with like mulled wine also, I think, something like that.
And then he said, I was hoping you wouldn't say that because I don't have that either. And then you were like, and then he was like, oh, and by the way, don't say this either because I'm out of this.
I'm like, bro, why don't you just tell people when I woke up, hey, I only have these 3 things left.
Yeah, so we went inside to, by the way, I got a mezcal margarita, which was absolutely disgusting.
Because it had that nasty ass smoky salt on it.
It did. And then we went inside to get drinks, and he was so awful. Like, he stirred Mal's drink for literally 5 minutes, and she was like, just give me the drink. And then I asked for Tito's and Diet Coke, and he gave me whiskey and Diet Coke, and he said, you asked for whiskey. And I said, I don't drink whiskey. I know I didn't ask for this, but anyways.
I feel like we're not being very interesting.
We're not being very interesting. Because you're on your phone scrolling. Anyways.
What else?
What else? Let's talk about what me and Lauren are going to podcast about next week.
I don't know anything about that.
Well, I'm going to ask you questions about it.
Oh, okay.
So, how does it feel? We're going to talk about life experiences. Oh, by the way, to summarize the New York trip, we're going to Hamilton tomorrow, and we were going to do our podcast tomorrow, but we're not going to have time because we're going to go out drinking. Anyways, now moving on. So me and Lauren were talking on the episode that I released last Tuesday that no one could hear because the audio was so terrible. It was so terrible. This is why I should probably listen to my podcast before I release them, but I just don't like listening to myself back, so I don't. But I did hear the buzzing in my ear, but we thought it went away, but it didn't, obviously. Anyways, so we were talking about life experiences in our 30s and like what you learned from your 20s to your 30s and what you took with it. So is there anything that you can recall, like your life experience from your 20s to your 30s that you're like, wow, I wish I would have known that in my 20s, or I really grew from that being in my 20s?
From my 20s to my 30s. The problem is, I'm not a very mature person in general.
You are.
I really wouldn't describe myself as mature.
You're way more mature than I am.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that, though?
Like,
I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm irresponsible. And
no. You're not irresponsible at all.
God. I don't know. I feel like I need a prompt, like a specific category.
Like, so let's pretend, I mean, obviously, when you were in your 20s, you went to Sammy T's. you were
I did other things.
But I'm just saying, like, if you had to say one thing that you grew from or you knew, you were like, so I was telling Lauren, like, I think mine is I don't care as much what people think about me now as when I was in my 20s. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that the older I get, the more comfortable I feel about who I am versus trying to appease everyone and not knowing who I am. So that was my thing. Like, I just think that the older I get, the more mature, I guess I would say, or I'm not as, oh, well, you know, I am gaining weight. I'm not as concerned about it as where I had a disordered eating habit when I was in my 20s, like, because I was trying to fit a certain mold, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think that that's the case for, I think most people would say that they grow into themselves more once you're sort of out of the school atmosphere, whether that's high school or college, once you like get into the world around other adults and you start to realize everybody has the same, I mean, on some scale or another, issues or insecurities or, you know, setbacks or whatever. But yeah, I mean, so I would definitely say that for sure. I think a big thing with me that I still work on is people pleasing and molding myself to people around me. I've done that most of my life, and just the past few years I'm like, what do I actually like? Because I tend to just go with what everyone else is. I mean, unless it's something like fucking terrible, like a rodeo or something, like like,
which is interesting because I don't think you're a people pleaser.
I think I'm getting better about it.
But I guess in our friendship, I've never known you to not do what you wanted.
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't seen that aspect on the other side of it.
I mean, I still like do what I want. Like, I don't think I'm like a complete like follower. Like, I do what I want, and I do like to be like original and different. But most of the time around like people I care about, I'm like, I don't care. Whatever. Mm-hmm. That's why like you and I can't decide on a fucking place to eat. We can't decide if we want bruschetta or not. Because we're like, oh, whatever. Like, let's do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, we're both like, well, let's do what you want to do. Well, let's do what you want to do. Because that's what we're both used to doing. And so I kind of admire people that
can just make a decision. And like that's what they are like, oh, there's these 3 things and that's the one I want. Yeah.
Like, I still don't have that. Like, in the grand scheme of things, as far as like, what do you want to do with your life?
But see, I don't either. I don't know that I'll ever have that because I don't know that aspect of me can change. I mean, in certain situations, I guess. Maybe.
I think if you start shifting your thoughts to, if I'm thinking about me and what do I want and what do I need, what is gonna serve me most versus what is gonna make my loved ones happy.
I think it's hard because we're not selfish people, and I'm not saying that that's selfish. I'm just saying we think in our mind that that's selfish. That if we decide to make a decision, like let's say I wanted the bruschetta and you didn't want it at dinner, it's like, well, that's selfish of me to want the bruschetta, but maybe she wanted plain bread.
Yeah, but it's absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's just like...
It's like, no, I'm just making a fucking decision.
There's people that make the decision, and there's people that wait around waiting for other people to make the decision.
But that's also like, you know, I've talked before, like, and me and you, I'm very open. Like, me and you had a very falling out last year because I'm not very open about how I feel until it's like I have a very strong opinion about it. Like, and what I'm talking about is like, how me and Mal...
I'm so sorry if you can hear these burps. I'm trying to pull the microphone away from me, but this champagne, wow, the bubbles. Anyway,
that's why I laughed, if anyone was wondering. I don't think anyone can hear it because you pulled it away, but like last year we had a falling out because I'm not very good at vocalizing what I need in a friendship, but also have expectations that I feel like you should know what I want. And so I think that's becoming something in my 30s that I'm having to vocalize, like, hey, this is what I want. But it's also like I compare it to relationships, like romantic relationships. And it's the only thing I know to compare it to, because like when women get mad at their husbands or boyfriends or whatever for like, let's say their birthday or whatever, and you want flowers, but your husband or boyfriend didn't get you flowers, but you didn't tell him you wanted flowers. And we all know men are dumb. Mm-hmm. They're not gonna, they don't know to give you what you want. And so you're like, but you should have known what I wanted.
Right.
So I think women are ingrained to be like, but if you love me, you should know what I want. And so I had a hard time expressing that. So me and Mal kind of had like a little falling out last year because she was like, I didn't know this. And I was like, well, because you should have known. You're my friend. So I think in my 30s, I'm trying to get better at vocalizing like, hey, this is what I want. And it's definitely a work in progress for sure. Yeah. But that's something that will be on the podcast coming forward. And then also, like, we were talking about relationship in your 30s. Like, do you feel, because you're married, how old were you when you got married?
29, almost 30.
Okay, so you did get married later, because Lauren and them got married in their early 20s, and we were I was interviewing her about it and asking her.
How old is she now?
She is my age.
Okay,
so she's been married about 10 years,
yeah.
So I was asking her, like, if we all know that we're not who we are in our 20s and we're still trying to find ourselves, do we think that's what is causing the divorce rate so high in our 30s? Because like you finally figure out who you are in your 30s and you're like, oh shit,
yeah,
I don't like this person.
well, I think that's why it's so important that either you find somebody that is willing to grow and does love you for you,
Yeah.
even though there are tweaks. Most of the time you're still the same person. And I think that you sort of get lucky because that's not something that anyone knows.
Yeah.
Like, hey, are you going to be willing to grow in 10 years from now?
Yeah, but I think that's with anything, right? Like, so relationships like who last 50 years, I think that's the key, right? They're willing to grow and they're willing to work on it, because if you're not willing to do those things, I think this is where in my mind, I'm like, even in relationships with friendships, there's not a lot of people who have friendships that are 10 years old.
No.
Like 10 plus years old. But you're also, we could have ended our friendship last year. We could have ended it. End of story. Been like, you know what? We're just two different people. Let's end it. But I think it's up to the people who are like, you know, I love this person. I've invested in this person. What can I compromise on? What can you compromise on to make this relationship work? I think that's in relationships regardless, whether it's platonic, romantic, married, whatever. And I think that's what's hard for our generation, is that everyone's just willing to be like, it's not worth my time. Bye.
I think there's a good balance between that, though, because I don't think that anyone should take the advice that, it gets hard and you immediately run if you care about somebody, but also, like, don't stick with something that's not serving you if you've tried and tried and tried and tried, you know? So I kind of shy away from giving strong advice in a black and white area. Like, there's a gray area. Yeah. So I think it depends on everyone's situation.
But I mean, it also, like, when I say that, like, it also is like two parties have to be willing.
Right.
Because I have a friend that is giving all of her, like, she's giving everything she has to her marriage, and he's not giving everything back. And that's when I do give the advice, like, you're going to have to walk away from this because you can't give everything and him give nothing, because you're changing everything about yourself and he's changing nothing. So who is that benefiting?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get what you're saying, where it's like you have to be careful on where you give advice on that.
Yeah. I see a lot of marriages like that, especially in... Like, I see so many in, like, older generations, like, even just, like, 10 to 15 years older than me.
Yep.
Where, like, the women are literally doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in the house, everything for the kids, or kid, or whatever.
And
dogs.
working.
And working. Yeah.
And being a mom, I'm not a mom, full-time job. Yeah. I mean, you've seen, so Mal's sister Megan just recently had a baby. And
shout out baby LV.
LV, which I was the closest, by the way, to the name. Just letting everyone know that.
That's true.
One letter off. But yeah, I just think that we as women have been trained to think that we're not supposed to complain, right? Like, you don't complain about pain. You don't complain about the childbirth pain. You don't complain about doing everything pain. You're not supposed to complain. Yeah. And so I think that's something that we have all been conditioned to. And so I think that it is something that women are going to have to get better at, because you can't do it all. Like, I'm sorry, you can't give... I was trying, like, for example, I was trying to put a lot into my macro, Instagram, this podcast, work, trying to find a new job. And it was just my time was like trying to be split like 25%, 25%. And it wasn't good content on any level, because I was, you just can't do it. So I gave up on the macro thing, and I may go back to it. I don't know. I haven't decided, but I really do love this podcast. So I'd rather give 100% to this podcast when I'm not at work, to do that and make good content for people, because I like interviewing people and I love talking to people, like, even if it's just my friends, and talking to them about their views on things. Because even though you think you know someone, when you sit down and talk to them and interview them, you're like, oh wow, I had no idea that was your perspective.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's good to prioritize.
So we'll kind of switch gears a little bit because I want to talk to you because I know Mal is very busy. She runs a children's museum back from where we're from, so she's always busy this time of year.
I don't run the children's museum.
Well, I mean, like, you market it and you do the events. Like,
I am the event coordinator, so I do the kind of head up the major fundraising events.
yeah. So, I mean, like, this time of year, your events are massive because you have Halloween Bash and then you do
a big holiday event.
Yeah, like
also.
Santa's Village. And I don't know if you do anything for Thanksgiving or not, but.
No.
Okay.
Fuck Thanksgiving.
But, I mean, you would die if they told you had to. Turkey
Right,
trot. You should
right.
do a turkey trot run.
Like, Thanksgiving time is all Christmas.
Yeah.
So
trying to get her like locked down to do a podcast is hard. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. And I know that I'm springing this on her because I didn't tell her I was going to ask her these questions.
What is it? Is
But
it
I told
about
you before.
children?
Yeah.
I
I've told
knew
you
it.
before.
I knew it was about children.
So we're
staring
in our
at the
30s.
window. I'm not even making eye contact with her, just for everyone that needs a visual.
So we're both in our 30s and Mal's married. I'm not. So another podcast that was supposed to come out next week with Lauren and them that I'm going to have to re-record because of the audio was about kids and having children and thoughts on children, because I used to think I wanted children coming from a small town. Like you were told, not told, but like basically that's what was ingrained in you.
You
like
had like a very small view of what life was like.
yes, like
yeah.
you graduate high school, you get married,
Right.
you have children at 2021, and that was your life.
Right.
And I'm sitting here about to be 34 in a few days, and when I go back home, people look at me like, what is wrong with you? You have no children. And I don't feel like I'm missing out on much, and maybe I am, and maybe I just haven't met that person that I'm like, oh, I want to have your babies.
Yeah.
But like, so I wanted to talk to another friend that I have, like, even though she's in a different situation, like she's married, she has a husband, and she doesn't have children. What's your thoughts on children and being in your 30s and things like that?
Am I the other friend?
Yeah.
Am I the friend you were just talking about?
That was
okay.
the friend you were just talking about.
I thought you were talking about Lauren, and then I was like, wait, does Lauren have kids? I don't know.
Yeah, Lauren has kids. Lauren has two.
Gotcha. My thoughts on children. It's very hard to say because I don't know. It's just why I don't have kids. Because I do feel like there's a lot of pressure to have kids, especially as a woman, because that's one of those things that you're supposed to want. And I didn't really have I have a younger sister, and we have younger cousins. So I was always kind of the oldest in any situation. So I was always around younger kids and babies for the most part. I mean, and so maybe that's a difference. Like when you're around a lot of younger
like so I have like 10 nieces and nephews, and I'm
I
like,
see what this is about.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. That's not also the case because Megan was also around all of those, and she loves kids and wants kids. I mean, she wants to adopt kids and have like a whole like farm of children, which is great because like she just had a child, and people are like, "Oh, does that make you really want a kid now?" And like mom asked me when Megan got pregnant, "Does it make you want a kid now? Like, does it make you want to try now that Megan is pregnant?" And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to see how this works out for her and then maybe go from there. But also then once she had the baby, a few people have asked, do you think that you want a baby now? And I'm like, I don't know. Like in a way, yes. But also in a way, like Elvar is his name. He's kind of filling that void for me. Like I get to be an auntie, which is like.
And give him back when he cries.
Amazing. And, I've never been so in love with a baby before, so I can kind of see the appeal.
Yeah.
But also like.
So were you ever like growing up like, oh my God, I want to be a mom?
No.
I wasn't either.
No. I feel like it ebbed and flowed for me. I never felt strongly one way or the other.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things. I never felt strongly what I wanted.
Yeah.
I felt like in college I was like, oh, too cool for kids. Like I'm not never having kids. I'm moving to Manhattan and I'm going to be, I don't know.
That's why we're in New York.
Stupid ass fashion job or something. But And then when I met Brett and when we got settled down, I was like, oh, okay, maybe we will have a family. You know, we were both kind of like open to it. We're not, and that's the problem. Neither one of us are like super into it or super against it.
Yeah.
And it just hasn't happened. And we're just okay with it, if that makes sense.
So this
like a lot of our friends, their pregnancies have been accidents.
Yeah.
Which we love baby Elvar, but he was not on purpose.
Yeah.
He was not intentional.
He was a COVID baby.
Because Megan had like every intention of adopting all of her children. And so like it's just accidentally happened to a lot of people, and it hasn't accidentally happened. So I'm just like, I mean, I'm cool.
So this may be too personal to ask, and if it is, just say that. But have y'all tried for a period of time and it just didn't happen?
No, I actually like avoid ovulation time because I'm terrified.
Well, I just didn't know because like we as women, like, and I think it's becoming more known to talk about it now. And I think it's great that women talk about it. And I'm going to have a few women on that actually have tried and they have to go on IVF and things like that.
Yeah.
But like sometimes when we ask people why they're not having babies is kind of, what's the word? Like a negative thing because maybe they are trying and they don't want to tell you that they had multiple failed pregnancies.
Right, like you just never know what.
And like even though that we're close, maybe you didn't want to say that because it's very sensitive to you and hard on you. So, you know, I didn't know if y'all had tried and it just didn't happen or anything like that.
No, we haven't. I have a feeling that if we did, just in my mind, I felt like it would happen quickly.
For sure.
And I just don't feel ready for that. And I'm like, I'm about to be 37. So like my body's about to make the decision for me. But like we could, and him and I joke, we're like, oh, is it going to suck when we get older? And like,
yeah.
Because, you know, like at our age, our parents love to have us around.
Yes.
So like, all I can think about is like when we're our parents' age.
Yeah.
And like, yes, everyone's like, you have Mackenzie. I have a stepdaughter for anyone who's listening. But she has like 18 other grandparents and she has a mom and a stepdad also. So, you know, like she has a giant family and she's not going to be able to like focus on us like if we had, you know, like our own kid that was just responsible for changing our diapers.
Yeah.
So we were like, maybe we'll just adopt a 12-year-old when we're like 50 or something. I don't know. Like you can do that. That's an option.
Well, I mean, it's something that I've had to think about too because I'm 34 almost and I'm single. So if I meet someone and get settled down, I'm not going to be having a child till I'm like 37, 38.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's a huge commitment. So
it is.
It's a thing like, if you're not sure, like I always think about that quote in Eat, Pray, Love when she's like, having a kid is kind of like getting a tattoo on your forehead. You really want to be sure before you do it.
Well, and like I said in my last podcast that no one got to listen to because the audio was terrible. I'll say that 500 times. I told Lauren, like, I know for a fact I'm too selfish to have a child right now. For a fact, 100%. I'm too selfish. And she was like, no, I think that's a good thing because most people don't want to say that out loud. Because number one, like, I like to go to the gym. If I want to go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning, I don't have to think about putting a child somewhere. It's a little frowned upon to put a child in a playpen and leave.
Well,
like your dog.
I mean, I think there are other options. But
I'm just saying, like, I know for a fact I'm too selfish because I still want to like go and come as I please.
But I don't think that it's that we're too selfish, more so than we just value being able to choose what we do with our time versus having a kid. Now, if you choose to have a kid, then your priorities change, but you still should. And I think that Megan is going to differ from a lot of moms I know. Megan is my sister. I don't know if we've made that clear for people who aren't listening.
It's fine. It's good to make it clear so I don't have to go back and listen.
I really think that she's going to be better than so many moms I see about still doing things that she wants to do and still putting sort of like the European way, like, do what you want to do. Teach
like
your kid
mom,
independence.
Being a mom is not your identity.
Right.
Yeah. Like I'm still a person and I'm a mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like one of my coworkers was telling me like a story about her being at work and one of her employees had worked for her a couple years and didn't know anything that she liked, but she knew everything about her kids.
Yeah.
Like that's sad to me.
It is sad because you are a person.
Yeah.
Being a mom, and I'm not a mom, so I don't know, but like people I follow, they make it very clear. Like I'm like, so like the Bella twins that I love, like Mal knows I like listen to their podcast, the Bella's podcast. They make it clear on their social media, like I'm still a Bella, but I'm also a mom.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have like, I go out and drink my wine in Napa Valley because that's what I do. I like to drink wine, but I'm also a mom.
Right.
So, and
like
I do.
You can be multiple things.
And I appreciate the fact that they can say that, because I think people are getting more comfortable saying that versus saying, well, you know, I should be doing this because I'm a mom. Right. Because people were judging back in the day. Like, why are you out?
There's like so much mom guilt, even for moms that like go out with their friends and have a drink. Like they feel like they should be at home, and that's tough.
Agreed.
It's really tough. But like I see the appeal on both sides. I really do. And I don't make the decision lightly. I'm struggling with it, and I'm terrified of it, and I think that the safest thing is to not do it. But like on Mother's Day in particular, I had a really rough day, and it was so surprising to me, and it could have just been like hormones or something in like a weird time in my cycle, but like it felt like, because Megan was pregnant, and her and I and Mom went out together, and I got the two of them flowers, and they always like get me a little something because I'm a stepmom, and I'm like, oh, it's not the same thing. It's not the same
It is
thing.
the same. My stepdad is my dad.
I know, but it's not the same thing. Like, I love Mackenzie. Yeah. Like, she is my heart, but also like it's not the same thing. Like, we see her, well, now because of COVID and because of she's in high school, so now we don't see her hardly at all. But like, even when we did, it was just like, you know, every other weekend. That's 4 days a month. Like, we don't get homework, we don't get like cheer practice, or like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the same. And so, but I mean, I appreciate the sentiment, but Mother's Day was rough for me for some reason. You get to a certain age, and it just seems like every woman you know is a member of a club that you're not. Yeah. And so it's hard. Like, and it becomes part of that, like making a decision, knowing who you are and what you want and what you're okay with, because it definitely feels like you're going against the grain.
Well, I mean, try being me, who's not a mom nor in a relationship, where everyone thinks that I should be both. Like, I should be married by now. I should be in a relationship by now. And being boxed in this box. But honestly, I'm probably the most content I've ever been. Like, going home.
That's all that matters.
Going home to my house, like, with my dog. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like, I get to go to bed when I want. I get to leave when I want. I get to leave the bed unmade when I want.
Well, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Like, if you died tomorrow, that's all that matters. Is that you were content. You're the only person that you have to answer to.
And, like, all my friends, I'm always the fifth wheel, fifth wheel, and I like it. Like, I don't feel like I'm left out of anything at all. Like, sure, I miss companionships at times, but that'll come with the territory when it's the right person, I guess.
Right.
You know? Yeah. But no, I appreciate you talking on this podcast. I hope you will be on more, because you're very open like I am, and I'm trying to reach more women about things like this, like talking about children and body positivity and things like that. So I appreciate you being as open and honest with me as you are willing to be on this podcast.
Of course. Anytime.
And guys,
champagne helps.
We were literally in Midtown, New York when we recorded this. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.